Chapter 637. What's wrong? You're back so soon. Since a beauty invited you, why don't you take the opportunity to get closer to her? Xian Yanqing said sarcastically when he saw Lu Ming. Why would I get close to other women? If I want to get close to someone, it should be you. Lu Ming chuckled. Xian Yanqing blushed and said, Stop it. Who wants to get close to you? Tell me, did you lust after her and get chased out? Lu Ming was speechless. Was his character that bad? Seeing that Lu Ming did not speak, Xian Yanqing smiled. Forget it. Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's get down to business. Lu Ming took out Yun Haitang's storage ring and immersed his mind into it. After a while, a token appeared. This is an inscription token? You're doing it so soon? Xian Yanqing asked. Of course. If I don't do it now, I'll have to sacrifice my body. Lu Ming muttered and said, Now, let's do it immediately. Otherwise, we won't have a chance when others find out that something happened to Yun Haitang. All right. Xian Yanqing was not a hesitant person and immediately nodded. Wait a minute. Lu Ming shouted. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming in confusion. I'll inscribe an inscription array for you to restrain your aura. Lu Ming's hands were constantly inscribing. Inscriptions flew into Xian Yanqing's body. In a short while, the inscription array to conceal one's aura was completed. Lu Ming, I didn't expect your inscription technique to be so brilliant. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming curiously. It's just SOSO. Let's go. His figure flashed and he went into the depths of the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution. Xian Yanqing followed. At the same time, in a secret room of the Cloud Sea Pill Institution, a low roar like that of a wild beast could be heard. A white-haired elder had his heart pierced by Jiyu Huashu's claw. You. Who are you? Jiyu Huashu wasn't that strong? Disbelief flashed in the old man's eyes. He was a core elder of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution, a peak king. Even if Jiyu Huashu had launched a sneak attack, he wouldn't have been able to pierce through his heart. The cultivation that Jiyu Huashu had just displayed was utterly terrifying. Hehe, death is at hand, why do you care so much? I just want your inscription token. True essence erupted, and the old man's aura vanished. Jiyu Huashu chuckled coldly. He licked his lips and took off the old man's storage ring. A moment later, a badge appeared in his hand, which was identical to the badge Lu Ming had obtained from Yun Haitang and the others. Jiyu Huashu's figure flickered, and he headed toward the treasury of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's cultivation was extremely profound. Their movement techniques were as fast as lightning, and with the inscription array concealing their auras, no one could discover them. Soon, the two of them arrived at the depths of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution. There was a huge mountain here. Halfway up the mountain, there was a stone door. The stone door was tightly shut, and there were inscription arrays all around it. Without the inscription token, even if one tried to force their way in, it would alert the upper echelons of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution, including the Sea of Soul Realm expert. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing rushed to the mountainside, took out the inscription token, and poured their true essence into it. Buzz. The inscription token glowed and inscriptions appeared. Inscriptions also appeared on the stone door. These inscriptions formed a light shield in front of the door. At that moment, the light barrier parted to form a door. As for the stone door, it opened by itself. Let's go. Their figures flashed as they rushed in. The light barrier closed automatically, and so did the stone door. Behind the stone door, there was a wide passage. It was obviously man-made, and the walls were bumpy. The two of them followed the passage and moved forward quickly. The passage was slanted downwards, and it went underground. The two of them carefully moved forward for a few minutes. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt his hair stand on end, and a sense of danger erupted from the bottom of his heart. Be careful. Lu Ming suddenly pulled Xian Yanqing and retreated quickly. Kai, two sharp forces shot into the place where the two of them had been, leaving two bottomless, thumb-sized holes in the ground. Die. A figure pounced out quickly, and a dark green claw light grabbed at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's vital points. It was unbelievably fast. Buzz. A long spear condensed in Lu Ming's hand. The spear light pierced through the void and pierced forward. Heavenly demon force field. Xian Yanqing pressed his hand forward, and a powerful force field burst out, encapsulating his opponent. Bang! Lu Ming's spear light collided with his opponent's. Lu Ming's figure swayed slightly, while his opponent retreated rapidly. How powerful! Lu Ming's eyes glistened. Despite his and Xian Yanqing's teamwork, their opponent was only knocked back, and was not injured. This was a clear indication of his strength. Of course, it was also because they had not used their full strength in a hurry. Jiyu Huashu. At this moment, Lu Ming saw the person before him and was astounded, his eyes filled with disbelief. Xian Yanqing beside him had the same reaction. The person who had ambushed them was none other than Jiyu Huashu. Jiyu Huashu was only a 7th-layer martial emperor half a month ago. In just half a month's time, his cultivation had improved to such a terrifying level. Hihi, the combat strength of the two of you is beyond my expectations. Jiyu Huashu let out a hollow laugh and licked his lips, staring coldly at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing frowned. They did not expect to stumble into Jiyu Huashu here. You're here to rob the treasure of the Cloud Ocean Pill Court too, right? Lu Ming said. Hihi, not bad, I didn't expect you two to be here too. Very well, I'll use this chance to get rid of you. Jiyu Huashu's eyes flickered as his figure transformed into more than 10 illusionary figures, charging in Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's direction. Every illusory figure looked real, and every illusory figure exuded a powerful aura. Sky Poison Claw. Jiyu Huashu groaned as he lashed out with a claw glow. The illusionary figures lashed out with their claws, covering Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's vitals. Heavenly Demon Force Field. Heavenly Demon Cleave. Xian Yanqing roared as the Heavenly Demon Force Field exploded, containing a terrifying cutting power. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lu Ming's spear transformed into more than 10 spear radiances, piercing through the illusionary figures. Bam! Bam! The three of them had restrained their genuine essence during the battle. Otherwise, with their combat strength, they would have pierced through the mountain. I didn't expect the two of you to be so powerful. I'm afraid even the lower-ranked geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents are no match for either of you. Chapter 638. However, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were equally shocked. Jiyu Huashu had reached such a terrifying level in just half a month. His cultivation had already reached the level of a peak king. Furthermore, the martial skills he used were extremely strange, and his battle prowess was extremely strong. Lu Ming wasn't confident that he could win in a one-on-one battle. This guy's condition is too strange. Dandan stared at Jiyu Huashu with her dark eyes, her eyeballs rolling in their sockets. Dandan, what did you see? Lu Ming asked. Dandan had said that it had lived for a long time, and Lu Ming felt that it might be true. Perhaps Dandan could really see something. It's a bit like possession, but it's not easy. It requires a series of coincidences, or it'll be very difficult to succeed. Dandan muttered. Possession. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's expressions changed as disbelief appeared in their eyes. They had heard of the legend of possession. It was said that after a cultivator reached the spiritual god realm and formed a spiritual god, the spiritual god wouldn't crumble immediately even if the physical body was destroyed. It could even be reborn through possession. However, seizing someone's body wasn't as easy as one would imagine. Once a spiritual god left the body, it would be extremely weak and wouldn't be able to exist for long. Most importantly, every person's will was extremely strong and even involved the law of life. Basically, it was impossible to be possessed. If a spiritual god wanted to possess someone, it would usually end up in ashes. However, there were examples of successful possession in history, but it was too rare. Could it be that Jiyu Huashu had been possessed by a powerful existence? At this moment, Jiyu Huashu's expression changed drastically. Chimph, I'll let the two of you go for now. I'll take your lives in the future. Jiyu Huashu snorted coldly and quickly retreated into the depths of the tunnel. After him. The two chased after him. The three of them continued forward, passing through the East Bay and West Bay. After a while, a huge underground cave appeared in front of them. On the ceiling of the underground cavern, there were blood-red gems embedded in the stone walls, scattering blood-red light. In the middle of the underground cavern, there was actually a medicinal field with more than a dozen types of spirit herbs planted. Ha ha, blood infant fruit, dragon poison fruit, my intuition was right. As soon as Jiyu Huashu arrived, he was overjoyed and rushed toward the fruit trees. Heavenly demon fruit. Xian Yanqing saw a fruit tree that was as tall as a man. It was pitch black, and there was only one fruit on it. It was the size of a fist, and its surface was covered with strange patterns. This was the heavenly demon fruit that Xian Yanqing needed. Xian Yanqing pounced on the heavenly demon fruit. Wang, wang. At this moment, the air began to vibrate violently. The vibrations were densely packed, as though countless bees were flying around. However, the vibrations were thousands of times stronger than bees. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, beetles flew out from the ground under the fruit trees. They shot toward Jiyu Huashu and Xian Yanqing like bullets. Their speed was shocking. The vibrations were caused by the beetles' wings flapping in the air. Be careful. Lu Ming exclaimed softly and dashed over quickly. Heavenly demon force field. Xian Yanqing pressed his palm down, and the powerful heavenly demon force field enveloped the beetles. However, the beetles' speed was only slightly affected, and they continued to rush toward Xian Yanqing. Heavenly demon cleave. An incomparably sharp cutting power erupted, and a cutting power like wind blades slashed towards the beetles. Clang, clang. The powerful cutting force cut through the beetles, but the sound of metal clashing could be heard, and sparks flew everywhere. Only a few of the beetles were cut in half, while the rest were sent flying. They slowed down for a moment before rushing over again. On the other side, a short sword appeared in Jiyu Huashu's hand, and he slashed repeatedly. However, the result was the same. Only a few beetles were killed, while the rest were sent flying. Sacred beetles, damn it, why are there sacred beetles here? Jiyu Huashu roared. Wong wong, the beetles flew up again, and there were at least 1,000 of them. Lu Ming rushed forward, and a huge spear light condensed in his hand. He swept it out, and dozens of the sacred beetles were sent flying like bullets, crashing into the surrounding walls and blasting large holes in them. However, even more sacred beetles pounced on Lu Ming. This kind of sacred beetle had a long spike on its mouth. It was abnormally sharp, and no one wanted to be pierced by this kind of spike. Xiao Qing, take the heavenly demon fruit and retreat. Lu Ming shouted. Juniors, today, none of you will be able to leave. All of you will stay here. At this moment, a bone-chilling voice sounded. Boom. In the air above the cave, a mighty and terrifying aura pressed down. This aura gave people the feeling of facing a vast ocean. Not good, it's a sea of soul realm expert. Lu Ming's face changed. It seemed that the Cloud Ocean Alchemy Institution had been waiting for them here. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming didn't hesitate, and directly used the 9 dragons stomping the sky. His body turned into a ray of light, and in a flash, he dodged the large group of sacred beetles and rushed toward the heavenly demon fruit. Pang! Pang! Then, with a sweep of his spear, a group of sacred beetles in front of him were sent flying. His Zhen Yuan swept forward and wrapped around the heavenly demon fruit, and Lu Ming put it into his storage ring. Heavenly demon fruit, let's go! Lu Ming shouted, and his body flew toward the exit. At the same time, Xian Yanqing also retreated. Juniors, stay here. A furious roar rang out, and 2 powerful forces pressed down on the 2 of them at an unimaginable speed. They were 2 rings of fire, and they emitted a shocking pressure. So hot. That's a second-grade fire concept. Lu Ming's heart stirred, and 3 kinds of concepts burst out. A spear light burst out, striking the ring of fire. There was a deafening roar and Lu Ming felt a boundless pressure surging toward him. His body shook slightly and he could not help but retreat continuously. On the other side, Xian Yanqing was also in a similar situation, and he retreated a few steps. In the sky, a burly middle-aged man wearing a red robe stood in the void. His cold gaze swept over the 3 of them. My son, Yun Zongsheng, was killed by you? Today, I'll bury you with him. A cold voice was heard. As soon as he finished his words, the burly man in red robes pressed his hands down. A total of 9 flame rings were launched at Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Jiyu Huashu respectively. At the same time, the sacred beetles trembled violently, and flew toward the 3. Heavenly Demon Force Field. Destruction cut. Xian Yanqing shouted, and pressed out with both hands. A powerful force field covered a radius of 10 meters, and an invisible cutting force destroyed everything. This time, many sacred beetles were directly cut in half, and only 3 rings of fire were left, rampaging in the force field. This is the destruction concept. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Chapter 639. The destruction intent was a special intent. Its attack power was terrifying and could destroy everything. In terms of attack power, even the thunder intent was inferior to it. At the same time, Xian Yanqing had also comprehended the wind intent. However, the 2 intents were clearly not merged together. Die for me. At this moment, a long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Ever since he obtained the infinite dragon spear, Lu Ming had not used it yet. Whoosh, whoosh. The infinite dragon spear turned into a series of afterimages. Dozens of spear lights shot out. As the spear lights were too sharp, they tore open dozens of vacuum channels in the air. The spear lights pierced through dozens of sacred beetles, causing them to explode. The tip of the infinite dragon spear was made of indestructible steel. It was incomparably tough and sharp. It easily broke through the sacred beetle's defense. On the other side, Jiyu Huashu let out a long roar. Dark green sword chi burst out. It was also stronger than before and split the sacred beetles apart. Boom! Boom! Thereafter, there was a violent roar. Lu Ming and the group collided with the flaming ring and there was a shocking explosion. The entire mountain peak shook violently. Damn it! The red-robed middle-aged man's eyes were filled with shock. Lu Ming and the other 2 were too strong. Not only could they break through the sacred beetles, but they could also block his attack. They were only martial kings, but they were so terrifying. Overflowing flames, destroy the world. The red-robed man waved his hands and pressed down. Immediately, dozens of rings of flames formed and shot towards the 3. This flaming disk was the fusion of the red-robed man's true essence and concept. It was incomparably powerful, and the edges of the disk were incomparably sharp. It also contained the explosive power of flames. If a person was struck by it, they would definitely explode. Lu Ming, how about the 3 of us work together? Jiyu Huashu suddenly called out. The other party was a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Whether it was Jin Yuan or intent, they were both too strong. They would not be a match for him alone. If they wanted to leave this place safely, they could only work together. Otherwise, they would be defeated one by one. All right. Lu Ming was also very clear on this point. Without hesitation, he nodded and agreed. Regardless of whether Jiyu Huashu was possessed or not, he had to get through this first. Jiyu Huashu's figure flickered and appeared beside Lu Ming and the others like a ghost. Spiritual sea tier, Dantian turning into the sea, true essence is too dense. We can't fight him head-on, or else our true essence will definitely be exhausted. The opponent is a martial artist at the peak of the first layer of the spiritual sea tier. We can only take the initiative and counterattack to have a chance of winning. Jiyu Huashu quickly analyzed. What method do you have? Lu Ming asked. It was very likely that Jiyu Huashu had been possessed by a spiritual god. His knowledge was extraordinary. Perhaps he really had a way. While resisting the attacks of the red-robed man, they conversed with each other via voice transmission. The 2 of us will open up a path and attack the opponent. Let this girl use her force field to envelop the opponent and reduce his speed. Only then will we have a chance to win, Jiyu Huashu said. All right, let's lead the way. Lu Ming nodded. Following which, he activated his second bloodline, causing his strength to increase by several notches. Extreme Path Strike. Lu Ming used his most powerful strike, becoming one with his spear. He turned into a ray of spear light, piercing through the void and shooting up into the sky. Peng! Peng! Several rings were destroyed by Lu Ming, and the sharp spear light was aimed at the red-robed man. Azure poison sword. Jiyu Huashu's eyes flashed with a dense dark green light. Even the short sword in his hand turned dark green. He slashed out, and several rings were also destroyed. The dark green sword light slashed towards the red-robed man. The red-robed man's eyes turned serious. He clenched his fists, and the fire rings all flew back. They turned into 2 rings, emitting a powerful aura, and shot towards Lu Ming's spearlight and dark green sword chi. Boom! Boom! 2 earth-shattering explosions were heard as a violent force spread out in all directions. 2 pillars of chi soared into the sky from where the 3 of them were fighting. Boom! The stone wall above the cave was directly pierced through, and the entire mountain shook violently. Countless boulders fell, but when they were still a few dozen meters away from the 4, they were shattered by the energy emitted from their bodies. Charge out! Lu Ming yelled at Xian Yanqing. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing turned into 2 streaks of light and charged out. On the other side, Jiyu Huashu did the same. Want to leave? Stay. The red-robed man let out an earth-shattering roar, and turned into a sea of fire that shot towards the 3. Sky Demon Force Field. Xian Yanqing pressed his small hand, and the Sky Demon Force Field acted on the red-robed man, stopping him for a moment. Just like that, Lu Ming and the other 2 charged out of the mountain. Stay here. The burly man in the red robe roared furiously. The next moment, the heavenly demon force field was shattered. He turned into a flame and dashed into the sky instantly. With a wave of his hand, dozens of flame rings blasted toward the trio. Lu Ming and the other 2 counterattacked, and explosions sounded like fireworks in the sky. As for the mountain peak below, it had completely collapsed. Damn it! Jiyu Huashu roared. The spiritual herb he wanted was still inside. What's going on? Something happened in the forbidden area. Such a huge commotion naturally alarmed the entire Cloud Sea Elixir institution, and countless people flew in the sky. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than 20 figures flew towards Lu Ming and the others. Old Ancestor, what's going on? Old Ancestor, what's going on? These people asked one after another. These people trespassed into the forbidden area. Everyone, attack and take them down, the red-robed man ordered. What? How dare they? Courting death. These 20 people shouted, and powerful auras erupted, surrounding Lu Ming and the other 2. These 20 people were all kings in the Greater Success stage, and they were the strongest force in the Cloud Sea Elixir institution. Kill them. The red-robed man ordered. Kill. Kill. More than 20 Greater Success kings attacked at the same time, unleashing all kinds of secret techniques and lights toward the 3. Die, brat. The red-robed man waved his hand, and everyone's attacks were directed at Jiyu Huashu. He wanted to take them down one by one. His attacks were too scattered, and that was why Lu Ming and the others were able to block them. Now, he wanted to focus on one person. Jiyu Huashu was shocked, and he quickly retreated, and a dark green sword chi shot out. Die. The red-robed man pressed his hand down, and a ring of flames spun rapidly, colliding with the sword chi. The sword chi only resisted for a breath's time before collapsing, but the ring didn't stop, and it continued forward. Clang! Jiyu Huashu's short sword struck the ring, and his body trembled, and he quickly retreated. No, I'm not a match for him alone. I need to work together. Jiyu Huashu ignored everything and rushed towards Lu Ming. Chapter 640. On the other side, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were also entangled. Alchemists were proficient in inscriptions, so naturally, they were also proficient in joint attacks. More than 20 kings joined hands and formed a joint attack formation, firmly entangling Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming was clear about the other party's intention. They wanted to entangle the 2 of them first while the red-robed man killed Jiyu Huashu, then kill them. Kill them one by one. If that was the case, they would be in danger. The red-robed man was not an ordinary Sea of Soul Realm expert who had just broken through, but had already reached the peak of the first layer of the Sea of Soul Realm. If they fought him alone, they would only be defeated. Charge out and join hands with Jiyu Huashu. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Xian Yanqing. Sky Demon Force Field, Destructive Cut. Xian Yanqing pressed his hands together, and the sky demon force field enveloped more than 20 kings. The destructive cutting power crazily cut at them. If it were just a few kings, they would have already been cut into meat paste. However, with more than 20 of them working together, their auras fused, and the formation resisted. Devour. Lu Ming pressed his left palm, and a powerful devouring power erupted, acting on the 20 kings, crazily devouring their blood essence. Steady. One of the old men shouted. This old man had the strength of a peak king. In fact, there were 8 peak kings among the 20 kings. Otherwise, they would not have been able to resist the joint attack of Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. True dragon attack, break for me. Lu Ming stabbed out with his long spear, and a tricolor true dragon flew out, crashing into the 20 kings. Block it, block it. Just a while more and the old ancestor will be able to kill that person and come help us. An old man roared. They were also incomparably shocked. Where did these young men come from? They were simply too strong, and did not seem like martial kings at all. They were too terrifying. At this moment, countless people in the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution were looking at the battle in the sky, shocked. Whoosh! Just as Lu Ming used the true dragon strike, a sword light suddenly flashed from a mountain peak below. This sword light seemed to come from beyond the heavens, pitilessly sharp. The target of this sword light was the same as Lu Ming's. It was also the experts of the Cloud Sea Pill Institution. Boom! The tricolor true dragon collided with the attacks of the people from the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution. They had never expected that there would be another sword light. He wanted to defend himself, but he didn't have enough strength. Puff! Puff! As the sword light flashed, 7 or 8 kings at the greater success stage were sliced in half. The formation was broken. Once the formation was broken, Xian Yanqing's heavenly demonic force field erupted. Blood splattered everywhere as a few more experts were killed. The Cloud Sea Elixir Institution is such a filthy and disgusting place. Today, it shall be destroyed. A figure stepped out of the void and appeared in the air in an instant. This was a young man, about 25 or 26 years old. He was dressed in a white robe and was handsome and refined. Come and help me. On the other side, Jiyu Huashu shouted. He could no longer hold on and was vomiting blood. He couldn't hold on for much longer. The two of you, I'll leave the rest to you. I'll go and help him. After saying that, the white-robed young man turned into a swordlight and charged toward the red-robed man. Yun Luo, you old bastard, today will be the day you die. The white-robed young man's voice was filled with killing intent. Damn it, who are you? The red-robed man, who was Yun Luo, roared. I'm Li Xiaoyun, the Imperial Sky Divine Guard. I've been investigating what the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution has done for a long time. You shall be destroyed. The white-robed young man shouted coldly. Endless sword chi burst out from his hands. The white-robed young man's cultivation was also at the peak king level, but his combat strength was no weaker than Jiyu Huashu and Xian Yanqing's. Li Xiaoyun, who is ranked 943 on the list of top 1000 talent. Lu Ming's expression changed. Let's join forces and break out. At this moment, an old man trapped in the heavenly demon force field tried to break out. With the formation broken, their strength was greatly reduced. Now that a few of them had been killed by Xian Yanqing, there were only a dozen of them left. They tried to break out of the heavenly demon force field, but they could not break out at all. Now, I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear, and hundreds of tricolor true dragons flew out and pounced toward the dozen experts from the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution. At the same time, the devouring power of the 9 dragons' bloodline shrouded them through his left palm. This was equivalent to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing working together. Ordinary peak kings would not be able to resist and were killed one by one. Devour. Drops of blood essence flew into Lu Ming's left palm and were devoured by the 9 dragons' bloodline. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming curiously. He did not know why Lu Ming would devour the blood essence. Now, let's go and kill that old man. Lu Ming smiled but did not explain. He could not explain the 9 dragons' bloodline for now. As for the 20 over storage rings, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing kept all of them. Okay. Xian Yanqing nodded. Meanwhile, the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution was in an uproar. The strongest group of elders of the Cloud Sea Pill Institution were all dead. All of them had been killed. Those who knew Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were even more shocked. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing are not on the list of top 1,000 talents. How can they be so strong? Even peak kings can't fight back against them. The most terrifying one is Jiyu Huashu. He's so strong that he didn't die under the Patriarch's attack. A great era is coming. I heard that in recent years, geniuses have been emerging all over the Eastern Wilderness. Many of them are not weaker than those on the list of top 1,000 talents. It's over. The Cloud Sea Elixir Institution has been targeted by these monsters. Let's go. Some of the people who were studying alchemy retreated far away to avoid being implicated. Some of the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution disciples also retreated to a secluded place to watch. If something went wrong, they would leave immediately. At the same time, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing had already charged toward Yun Luo. Jiyu Huashu and Li Xiaoyun were still no match for Yun Luo, but they could still fend her off. Sky Demon Force Field. Before Xian Yanqing arrived, the Sky Demon Force Field had already enveloped Yun Luo. True Dragon Strike. The dazzling spear radiance turned into a three-colored dragon and charged toward Yun Luo. At the same time, Jiyu Huashu and Li Xiaoyun counterattacked. Boom. Boom. Yun Luo's body shook violently as she retreated. Whoosh. Whoosh. Li Xiaoyun and Jiyu Huashu moved and blocked Yun Luo's path. The four of them surrounded Yun Luo. Hihi, let's see how arrogant you are now. Jiyu Huashu sneered. Yun Luo, I've already investigated what the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution has done. From today onwards, the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution will be removed from the world. Li Xiaoyun's voice was extremely cold. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing did not speak, but their cold eyes said it all. Countless people were shocked. The four geniuses were going to kill a spiritual sea realm expert today. Moreover, Yun Luo was a peak first-tier spiritual sea realm expert. If she was killed, it would be a huge piece of news. It was rare for a King Realm expert to kill a spiritual Sea Realm expert because the gap between a King Realm expert and a spiritual Sea Realm expert was too large. Chapter 641. Do you really think that you can kill me? Yun Luo's aura surged as he scanned his surroundings. However, his heart was heavy. The four people before him were too strong, surpassing common sense. Ordinary peak kings would only be instantly killed in front of them. If he was alone, he was confident that he could defeat and kill them. However, he felt pressured by the four of them working together. Especially, he looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was only a peak 9th level martial king, but he was already so powerful. The Battle of Providence is about to begin. These monsters have all made their move. Yun Luo felt bitter. Hihi, although it's rare for a king to kill a spiritual sea realm cultivator, it's not unheard of in history. Jiyu Huashu smirked and licked his lips. Kill. Lu Ming did not waste his breath and simply made a move. He had devoured a large amount of blood essence, so he had to end the battle as soon as possible to refine the blood essence. As soon as Lu Ming moved, the other three moved as well. They all used their ultimate techniques and charged toward Yun Luo. The sky suddenly boiled as the violent attacks shook the world. Strands of energy flowed out and fell to the ground. Boom. Boom. Each strand of energy was like a heavy bomb, causing mountains and rivers to explode and palaces to collapse. The Cloud Sea Elixir Institution was in a mess. Run. Run. The disciples of the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution screamed as they ran. Those who were too slow were killed by the explosions. 5 figures turned into 5 rays of light and engaged in a life-and-death battle in the sky. However, Yun Luo was already at a disadvantage. A moment later, blood splattered everywhere as one of his arms was chopped off. Yun Luo let out a beast-like roar. Suddenly, a bloody light filled the air as Yun Luo turned into a ray of bloody light and charged out of the encirclement. You 4 little bastards, just you wait. I will avenge my lost arm. Yun Luo's voice echoed in the sky, but he was already far away. Yun Luo had escaped. It's a pity that he got away. Li Xiaoyun sighed. Lu Ming's expression was calm. The four of them didn't have an overwhelming advantage against Yun Luo in the first place. How could it be so easy to kill her? Being able to leave behind an arm and injure her vitality was already pretty good. Hehe, if the other party doesn't die, he will definitely seek revenge. I won't accompany you. Jiyu Huashu sneered. He glanced at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing before his figure flashed and vanished into the horizon. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. This guy was really cautious. Once the battle ended, he immediately left. He was most likely afraid that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing would find trouble with him. To be honest, Lu Ming did not mind getting rid of him if he had the chance. Jiyu Huashu gave Lu Ming a very dangerous feeling. May I know how I should address you two? Li Xiaoyun cupped his fists at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and smiled. Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing replied. Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing. I've never heard of him. It seems that we've entered a golden age with endless geniuses. If the list of top 1,000 talents is rearranged now, I wonder if I'll be kicked out of it. Li Xiaoyun smiled bitterly. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked to be in their 20s, but their cultivation and combat strength shocked him. Brother Li, you're too modest. I've heard of your name before. Lu Ming said politely. What do you two plan to do next? Are you going to the chaotic astral sea as well? Li Xiaoyun asked curiously. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. There was no need to hide it. The Battle of Providence is approaching, and many geniuses have been mobilized. As far as I know, many geniuses have entered the chaotic astral sea recently to train themselves. After I've settled the matter of the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution, I plan to explore the chaotic astral sea as well, Li Xiaoyun said with a smile. Oh. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, the chaotic astral sea was extremely chaotic. It was an unreasonable place where one could be attacked at any time. There was no shortage of life-and-death battles there. In such an environment, one could indeed improve and break through one's limits. If one did not break through, one would probably die. It was normal for many geniuses to enter the chaotic astral sea to train themselves. Lu Ming could not help but look forward to it. Li Xiaoyun was ranked 943 on the list of top 1,000 talents, dozens of places higher than Sheng Xing. His combat strength was much stronger than Sheng Xing's. Li Xiaoyun could easily defeat Sheng Xing. He was only dozens of places higher than Sheng Xing, but he was already so powerful. How powerful would the geniuses who were ranked higher be? Not to mention the geniuses who had entered the Sea of Soul Realm, there must be many geniuses who were stronger than Li Xiaoyun in the Martial King Realm. Lu Ming was eager to meet them. Brother Li, we'll take our leave then, Lu Ming said. He was in a hurry to find a place to refine the blood essence. All right, we'll have a drink when we meet again, Li Xiaoyun said with a smile. Definitely. Lu Ming nodded and then left with Xian Yanqing. Whoosh. Whoosh. After Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left, two figures appeared beside Li Xiaoyun and bowed. Young master, send the news to the Emperor Sky Divine Palace in the Yunfeng domain. Get someone to deal with the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution. Using innate blood essence to refine elixirs is an evil practice, Li Xiaoyun said coldly. Yes. The two old men bowed. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing flew toward the west. After flying for hundreds of thousands of miles, they landed on a mountain. The two of them planned to cultivate in seclusion here for a while. Xian Yanqing wanted to use the heavenly demon fruit to cultivate the heavenly demon force field. Lu Ming also wanted to refine the blood essence. Dandan, protect us, Lu Ming said. 10 rank 5 spiritual herbs. Dandan demanded an exorbitant price. Lu Ming threw 2 spiritual herbs to him and said, 2 spiritual herbs. Otherwise, none. Dandan had no choice but to grab 2 spiritual herbs and protect them. Xian Yanqing sat cross-legged and took out the heavenly demon fruit to cultivate. Lu Ming sat cross-legged 100 meters away. Rumble. Within the 9-dragon bloodline, the massive blood essence was being refined continuously. This time, there were more than 20 blood essences of greater success kings, including 8 peak-tier kings. The blood essence was simply too dense. The Nine Dragons bloodline had already reached the limit of a rank 7 monarch bloodline. This time, it broke through. 8 silver chakras flashed, and the Nine Dragons bloodline reached rank 8 monarch bloodline. Luckily, Xian Yanqing was also in seclusion. Otherwise, his jaw would have dropped. 9 Dragons bloodline. 9 dragons. Why does it sound so familiar? Sigh, I can't remember. Dandan muttered as he chewed on a spiritual herb. Let's see if there are enough supreme-grade spiritual crystals. If there are enough, I can become a peak-tier king. A dozen interspatial rings appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Lu Minute and Xian Yanqing each took 12 interspatial rings of the greater success kings of the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution. Lu Ming sank his consciousness into the interspatial rings and gathered all the supreme-grade spiritual crystals together. Chapter 642. As expected of the storage rings of kings at the Great Success Stage and Peak Kings. They were simply too rich. In total, there were more than 80 million supreme spiritual crystals in the 12 storage rings. 80 million peak-grade spiritual crystals was truly terrifying. Alchemy is truly profitable. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. Moreover, the people of the Cloud Sea Elixir Institution used the blood qi of infants to refine pills. Naturally, they would be able to earn more peak-grade spiritual crystals. Even peak kings and great success kings weren't that rich. Lu Ming estimated that Yun Luo's storage ring would definitely have more peak-grade spiritual crystals. It was a pity that Yun Luo had escaped. It's more than enough to become a peak king. After Lu Ming sorted out the peak-grade spiritual crystals, he looked at Xian Yanqing. At this moment, an invisible force field spread out from Xian Yanqing's body, covering an area of 100 meters. It was constantly vibrating and contracting. Xian Yanqing held the heavenly demon fruit in his hand. The heavenly demon fruit shone brightly and was absorbed by Xian Yanqing. It seemed that Xian Yanqing's cultivation wouldn't end anytime soon. With a thought, Lu Ming's body disappeared and entered the Temple of Paragon. His breakthrough would cause quite a commotion. If he was outside, it would most likely alert Xian Yanqing. Let's begin. With a wave of his hand, a huge pile of peak-grade spiritual crystals appeared. There were at least 1 million of them. Pang! Pang! The million peak-grade spiritual crystals exploded and turned into dense heaven and earth spiritual qi. The Nine Dragons bloodline appeared. The Nine Dragons bloodline had reached the 8th level king grade. Its body seemed to have grown larger, and its scales were dense. It looked more and more like the legendary true dragons. Opening its mouth, a terrifying devouring power erupted. The energy of the million peak-grade spiritual crystals was sucked into the Nine Dragons bloodline. Lu Ming circulated the true dragon battle technique and started cultivating. Breaking through to the peak king grade required a lot of energy. Furthermore, he had to condense his cyclone to the extreme in preparation for breaking through to the Sea of Soul realm. Therefore, a lot of supreme spiritual crystals were needed. The devouring and refining power of the Nine Dragons bloodline increased several times. It didn't take long for the 1 million supreme-grade spiritual crystals to be refined. Lu Ming took out another 1 million. Just like that, 1 million after another. Endless energy was accumulating. When Lu Ming had refined 18 million pieces of supreme spiritual crystals, the cyclone in his dantian had finally become extremely condensed. It was like a rotating liquid, like the eye of the sea. At this moment, a powerful aura rose from Lu Ming's body. He had broken through to the Peak King realm. Rumble. Circulating the true battle dragon art, his true essence surged. Lu Ming felt that the strength of his true essence was several times stronger than before, and Lu Ming's battle strength had naturally increased by a large margin. Lu Ming opened his eyes and revealed a satisfied smile. Peak King warriors were considered to be standing at the peak of King warriors. The next step would be to open up the spirit ocean and step into the Sea of Souls realm. However, this step wasn't that easy. First, he had to comprehend the intent of heaven and earth to the 2nd level. Without the 2nd level intent of heaven and earth, only death would await him if he tried to break through to the Sea of Souls realm. Only a little more than a day has passed after refining so many supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Let's go see how Xiao Qing's cultivation is going. With a thought, Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon. Wang. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, he felt a powerful force field surging. He felt a huge pressure on his body. Lu Ming moved and retreated a few hundred meters before the pressure disappeared. The heavenly demon fruit in Xian Yanqing's hand had already disappeared. Her long hair fluttered in the wind as a lotus floated above her head. A beautiful woman sat cross-legged on the lotus. Powerful force fields constantly emanated from Xian Yanqing's body. Not simple. Dandan circled around Xian Yanqing, its eyes darting around as it sized up Xian Yanqing. 8 hours later, the force field around Xian Yanqing suddenly shrank and disappeared from her body. At this moment, Xian Yanqing opened her eyes. Xiao Qing, how was it? Did you break through the heavenly demon force field? Lu Ming walked over and smiled. Of course. How was it? Do you want to test its power? There was a sly smile at the corners of Xian Yanqing's lips. He stared at Lu Ming with evil intentions. Do you think you can defeat me just because you broke through? You'll be disappointed again. Lu Ming smiled confidently. Is that so? Then I'll give it a try. Xian Yanqing smiled. As soon as she finished speaking, she pressed her palms forward. Buzz. An incomparably powerful force field erupted and instantly enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt as if there was a majestic mountain pressing down on him. So strong. It's several times stronger than before. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of amazement. Boom. In the next moment, a powerful aura erupted from Lu Ming's body. He circulated his true essence and combined the 3 essences of heaven and earth to expand the power of the heavenly demon force field. You've broken through in your cultivation? Xian Yanqing exclaimed in surprise. Of course. You've broken through, so how can I not? Lu Ming chuckled. Just in time. Destruction cut. Xian Yanqing shouted and pressed her palms together. A terrifying cutting power erupted from the heavenly demon force field. This cutting power was formed from the concept of destruction and the heavenly demon force field. It was incomparably sharp. Even a level 5 spiritual weapon would be cut apart. Lu Ming condensed a long spear with true essence in his hand. With the tip as the center, the long spear spun rapidly like a drill and drilled in Xian Yanqing's direction. Bang! Bang! With a rumble, the domain in front of him was broken. Lu Ming stepped forward and avoided Xian Yanqing's attack. If he wanted to defeat Xian Yanqing, he would first have to rush out of this domain and kill his way to Xian Yanqing. Little Qing, after I take him down, I'll have to reward you. Lu Ming's gaze swept over Xian Yanqing's body. You want to take me down? Dream on. Xian Yanqing shouted and her bloodline erupted. Her slender jade-like hands pressed down again. A beautiful arm formed out of thin air and slapped down at Lu Ming. The terrifying palm energy swept towards Lu Ming like raging waves. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He didn't dare to be careless. He stabbed out with his spear and a huge tricolor true dragon rushed out and collided with the beautiful palm. Boom! The earth trembled horribly. The terrain rose and fell. Violent energy swept in all directions. Lu Ming's body shook slightly and he took 3 steps back. Xian Yanqing, on the other hand, took 3 steps back. They were evenly matched. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He was about to erupt his bloodline and fight with Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing withdrew her heavenly demon force field and said, Stop, stop. Today's a draw. Stop. Lu Ming was a little speechless. Putting everything else aside, Xian Yanqing was a good opponent. Lu Ming wanted to erupt his bloodline and fight with all his strength, but Xian Yanqing stopped. Bitch, you're a big man. Why are you so serious when fighting with a little girl like me? How petty. Who wants to fight with you? Chapter 643. Lu Ming gave a wry smile. All right, it was Xian Yanqing who said he wanted to have a competition. Now, it was Lu Ming who was in the wrong. What could Lu Ming say? He could only tell himself that he should never try to reason with a woman, because his reason might not be hers. With a faint smile, Xian Yanqing's figure flashed as he grabbed Dandan and placed her on his shoulder. Then, he rose into the air and flew toward the west. Lu Ming walked in the air and chased after her. The chaotic astral ocean was not close from here. It was almost half the distance of the Yunfeng territory. Even with their speed, it would take them almost 10 days to fly there. Little Qing, you cultivate the destruction mentality and the wind mentality, right? On the way, Lu Ming asked. Yes, I comprehended the destruction mentality from my bloodline, Xian Yanqing said. Those two mentalities don't seem to merge together. Do you think it's that easy to merge two mentalities? Xian Yanqing rolled her eyes at Lu Ming. Then, she thought of something and said, not like you. You're so abnormal. I can teach you some experience of merging mentalities. How about it? Do you want to learn? Lu Ming said with a smile. Xian Yanqing's eyes brightened. Indeed, Lu Ming had successfully merged 3 mentalities. If she had Lu Ming's experience, she might really be able to merge 2 mentalities. If she could really merge the destruction mentality and the wind mentality, her heavenly demon force field would be enhanced to a terrifying level. Are you so kind that you'll teach me? Xian Yanqing asked tentatively. Of course not. I have a condition. Come, kiss me. I'll tell you how to merge them, Lu Ming said with a smile. Kiss you. Xian Yanqing's face was as red as a ripe apple. She glared fiercely at Lu Ming and said, I knew it. You're a pervert. You wish. Then, she clenched her teeth. Well, then forget it. I can't help it. Who told me to be a pervert? Lu Ming gave a long sigh. You, Xian Yanqing clenched her teeth. Her eyes kept changing. Then, she stared at Lu Ming with her face getting redder and redder. Finally, she actually approached him, closed her eyes, and kissed Lu Ming's face. Lu Ming's figure flashed and moved a few meters away. And laughed. Little Qing, what are you doing? It's just a joke. Did you take it? Haha. A scream came out of Xian Yanqing's mouth. Xian Yanqing blushed and glared at Lu Ming fiercely. She clenched her teeth and wanted to bite Lu Ming. In the end, she bared her teeth and pounced on Lu Ming to bite him. Lu Ming dodged and flew forward. He shouted, Nest, the tigress is biting. Stop. No. I won't stop. The two of them disappeared into the sky, one chasing and one escaping. Days passed. On the way, Lu Ming occasionally teased Xian Yanqing. He was in a good mood. Of course, he wouldn't be stingy. He shared his experience with Xian Yanqing. In addition, he took out a lot of destruction profound crystals for Xian Yanqing. The destruction profound crystals were also one of the many destruction profound crystals that Lu Ming had obtained in the heaven realm. When Xian Yanqing saw Lu Ming take out a lot of destruction profound crystals, and there were even many middle-grade destruction profound crystals, she couldn't help but be flabbergasted. Of course, she put them away without hesitation. Then, she took out a martial skill book and gave it to Lu Ming. The exploding starfist was a heaven-grade upper-grade martial skill. Combined with the fire concept, it could erupt with a terrifying power like the explosion of a star. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His current attack methods were indeed a little monotonous. With this exploding starfist, his attack methods would be a little more varied. He had obtained some martial skill books from others before, but they were all heaven-grade lower grade. Lu Ming didn't care about them at all. Most of them needed to be used with weapons to cultivate. They weren't suitable for Lu Ming. This martial skill book was just right for Lu Ming. The two of them weren't in a hurry to travel. They cultivated as they traveled. If they had comprehended something, they would stop and cultivate for a while. Lu Ming's comprehension of the exploding starfist was also improving rapidly. The two of them flew for more than 20 days before arriving at the destination that was supposed to take 10 days. The random star city was located on the shore of the chaotic astral ocean. It could be considered as the border between the Cloud Peak domain and the chaotic astral ocean. The random star city could be said to be the most prosperous city in the Cloud Peak domain. Everyone who wanted to enter the chaotic astral ocean from the Cloud Peak domain had to pass through the random star city. Countless merchant associations and caravans gathered here. The chaotic astral ocean could be said to be the largest inland sea in the eastern wilderness. Its area was larger than many large domains. There were many precious materials and strange treasures that couldn't be found in the outside world. Therefore, countless merchant associations took the risk to enter the chaotic astral ocean to search for materials and treasures unique to the chaotic astral ocean and transport them to other large domains to sell. They could earn huge profits. And these merchant associations all had to set out from the random star city. It's really lively. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing walked to the streets of the random star city. Looking at the endless stream of people coming and going, Lu Ming couldn't help but sigh. On both sides of the street, there were many shops. Inside, there were all kinds of wonderful materials and items from the sea. Lu Ming had never seen them before. It was a great eye-opener. After walking around, the two of them headed for the harbor outside the city. The so-called harbor of the random star city wasn't a place to dock ships, but a place to dock flying demonic beasts. This was because there were many aquatic demonic beasts living in the chaotic astral ocean. These aquatic demonic beasts were extremely powerful in the sea. They could overturn the clouds and rain. Ships sailing on the sea would definitely be defeated by the demonic beasts in the sea. Therefore, most people who entered the chaotic astral ocean rode on flying demonic beasts. Of course, riding on flying demonic beasts wasn't completely without danger. In the chaotic astral ocean, the weather was unpredictable. They might encounter a storm or thunderstorm at any time. As for the storms and thunderstorms, they were no ordinary storms and thunderstorms. Some of them were so terrifying that even kings would die within them. Also, the biggest danger in the chaotic astral ocean was pirates. Pirates were everywhere, robbing passers-by. The only outcome for those who were robbed was death. Therefore, all the warriors who wanted to enter the chaotic astral ocean would enter in groups. The most common way was to follow some caravans. The caravans themselves would have powerful forces, and they would also hire some guards with high cultivation. Therefore, as long as the caravans were given some spirit crystals, they would agree to go together. The benefits were mutual. One side could get the protection of the caravan's forces, and the other side, the more people there were in the caravans, the stronger the deterrence. Mutual benefits. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing also wanted to find a caravan to go together. They weren't afraid of the pirates in the chaotic astral ocean, but because the chaotic astral ocean was too big. If no one led the way, it would be very easy to get lost. Chapter 644. The port of Random Star City was bustling with noise and excitement. Huge flying beasts were parked there. There were wind eagles, gale eagles, four-winged flying tigers, and so on. All kinds of flying beasts had one thing in common, which was great endurance and huge size. Each demonic beast could carry at least a few dozen people. These demonic beasts were not all standing together. Instead, they were clearly divided into different factions. Liu Yuan Chamber of Commerce is going to Fengyuan Island. Is there anyone who wants to go with us? Only 10,000 supreme spiritual crystals per person. Flame Chamber of Commerce is going to Jinsha Island. Let's go together. 12,000 supreme spiritual crystals per person. Tsunami Chamber of Commerce is calling for guards to go to Sea Lion Island. The price is set according to cultivation. Let's talk face to face. When the two arrived at the port, they heard shouts. Which island should we go to first? Xian Yanqing asked. Anything is fine. Let's choose a bigger island. Lu Ming said. The map shown by the Martial Empress treasure only pointed to the chaotic astral ocean, but it did not point to the specific location of the chaotic astral ocean. The two guessed that it would only point to the specific location when all 9 keys appeared. Therefore, they did not have a specific target and could only choose a random place. Then let's go to Jinsha Island. Jinsha Island is a big island with many martial artists gathered there. Xian Yanqing said. Okay. Lu Ming nodded, and then the two walked in the direction of the Flame Chamber of Commerce. You two, are you going to Jinsha Island? A middle-aged man with a goatee asked with a smile. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. Go to Jinsha Island. 12,000 supreme spiritual crystals per person. Our young lady is there. You can go there to sign up and pay. The middle-aged man with a goatee pointed. The two looked over and saw a young woman surrounded by a group of people standing under a huge four-winged flying tiger. Okay, thank you. Lu Ming cupped his fists and walked over with Xian Yanqing. Are you two going to Jinsha Island? The woman looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and smiled. The woman was in her 20s. She wore a light yellow long dress, which made her look delicate and pretty. This was the young lady that the goatee spoke of. Yes, this is the fee for both of us. Lu Ming took out 24,000 top-grade spiritual crystals and gave them to the young woman. The woman put it away and smiled. My name is Luo Xin. How should I address you? Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing also introduced themselves. Mr. Lu, Ms. Xie, the journey to Jinsha Island will take half a month. You can choose a four-winged flying tiger first. We will depart in 2 hours. Luo Xin smiled. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Then, he and Xian Yanqing chose a four-winged flying tiger. This four-winged flying tiger was 20 meters tall and had a wide back. It was lying on the ground. There were already a few people sitting cross-legged on the back of the four-winged flying tiger. The two of them moved and landed on the back of the four-winged flying tiger. They sat cross-legged and waited quietly. As soon as Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left, a cold-looking young man beside Luo Xin said, 2 more useless people. There is not a single expert on this trip to Jinsha Island. How unlucky. Chen Jiao, this is normal. We don't have experts with us every time. We are a caravan, so we have to rely more on ourselves, Luo Xin said. I know. Of course, I know that. However, if there are experts with us, we will be able to reduce the number of casualties if we encounter danger. The others nodded. That was indeed the case. Their caravan had brought people with them for 2 reasons. First, they could earn some money. Second, they wanted to borrow some strength. If they encountered danger along the way, they would lend a helping hand. If there were a few experts with them, it would be much safer. While they were chatting, more people came over. 2 hours passed in the blink of an eye. The people of the flame caravan, as well as the guards, were all on the back of the four-winged flying tiger. Let's go. Luo Xin shouted. The four-winged flying tiger roared and soared into the sky, flying toward the chaotic astral ocean. Lu Ming glanced over. There were 64 winged flying tigers. There were about 20 people on each of them. In total, there were more than 1,000 people. Most of them were from the flame caravan. There were about 200 of them, like Lu Ming and the others, who were following the caravan to Jinsha Island. There was nothing but people on the back of the four-winged flying tiger. People would not carry goods. Martial artists were different from mortal caravans. Mortal caravans had to carry a large amount of goods. Martial artists' goods were all stored in their storage rings. The four-winged flying tiger roared as it flew. It had 4 huge fleshy wings that were more than 50 meters wide. With a flap of its wings, a gust of wind swept up. The 60 huge four-winged flying tigers flew a few thousand meters in the air and formed a formation. A white-robed old man stood on the foremost four-winged flying tiger, looking into the distance. This old man was the guide of the caravan. Not only could he tell the direction, but he could also avoid thunderstorms and storms. He could see them from afar and could always take a detour to avoid them. This was a guide that every caravan had. It was also called a wind guide. A wind guide was the most valuable asset of every caravan. It could help the caravan avoid many dangers. The salty sea breeze blew, and Lu Ming felt refreshed. This is the real sea. Lu Ming stood on the back of the four-winged flying tiger and looked into the distance. The blue sea was boundless, and one couldn't see the end of it. It was as if it was connected to the sky. The surface of the sea was very calm. It was completely different from the sea that Lu Ming saw in the heavenly realm. After looking for a while, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. The journey to Golden Sand Island would take half a month. During this time, he could cultivate properly. He sank his consciousness into his sea of consciousness and sat cross-legged under the lightning cauldron to comprehend the state of thunder. A few hours later, Lu Ming finished comprehending the state of thunder. He started to deduce the exploding star fist in his mind. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Splash! The The sound of waves crashing came from below. At the same time, cries could be heard. When Lu Ming looked down, he was slightly startled. Large fish appeared on the surface of the sea below. These large fish were all black. Lu Ming estimated that each of them was about 100 meters long. There were more than 100 of them in total. They rolled in the sea and let out sharp cries. Now that he was in the deep sea, the number of sea demonic beasts gradually increased. Splash! Suddenly, a large part of the seawater caved in, revealing rows of sharp teeth. A large black fish was caught off guard and was directly bitten in half by the sharp teeth. A massive shark leapt out of the water, giving off a monstrous aura. What a huge shark! Lu Ming estimated that this shark was at least 1,000 meters long. It was incomparably huge and looked like a small island in the sea. He looked forward. The sky in front of them was densely packed. It was a type of fish with wings. It was about 1/2 meter long and had a sharp mouth like an arrow. Whoosh! Whoosh! This kind of fish was the flying arrowfish. With a flap of their wings, their bodies shot out like arrows, piercing through the air and making tearing sounds. Most of these fish were only equivalent to the martial arts grandmaster level, but there were too many of them. A small number of them had reached the level of martial king. Boom! Boom! Multicolored attacks flashed out, and large swaths of flying arrowfish were killed, falling into the sea like raindrops. Everyone, attack! Kill these flying arrowfish and leave this place at once. Chen Zhao floated in the air and uttered a roar. With a single slap, over 1,000 flying arrowfish were killed, displaying his strength of the 7th layer martial emperor realm. Lu Ming shook his head and did not interfere. Although there were a lot of flying arrowfish, their strength was not strong enough to cause any harm to the merchant group, thus there was no need for him to interfere. Beside him, Xian Yanqing had no intention of interfering either, and continued to sit with his legs crossed. As expected, the school of flying arrowfish was almost wiped out in a short while, allowing the merchant group to leave the place and continue flying forward. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a figure appeared before Lu Ming and the others. It was Chen Zhao. At that instant, Chen Zhao's icy face became even colder. He stared at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and said, "Why didn't you two interfere just then?" His tone was extremely unfriendly, as if he was questioning them. Lu Ming frowned. He did not like it when others spoke to him in such a tone. Therefore, he was naturally unhappy. He said calmly, "It's just some flying swordfish. We don't have to do anything. When the time comes, we will naturally do it. Haha, no need for you to interfere. How ridiculous, do you think you're peerless experts? How ridiculous, I think you don't even dare to interfere. You're just a coward." Chen Zhao burst out laughing with a mocking look. Xian Yanqing's eyes flickered coldly. Lu Ming frowned and said in a cold tone, "It's none of your business whether we're experts or not. Besides, we've paid chi crystals for this trip. I've never heard of any rule stating that we're required to interfere." Chen Zhao's expression stiffened. It was true that there was no rule stating that they were required to participate in the journey after paying chi crystals. As a matter of fact, people like Lu Ming and his crew were not required to interfere. However, most people would interfere when they were in danger, just so the merchant group could reach their destination as soon as possible. Chen Zhao, that's enough. At this moment, Luo Xin flew over and chided. Then, she smiled at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. "Young Master Lu, Miss Xie, Chen Zhao is a little hot-tempered. I hope you don't mind him," Xian Yanqing snorted coldly. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not say anything. "You're weak and you're a coward. Just say so." Chen Zhao coldly left behind these words, then left and flew off into the distance. "Young Master Lu, Miss Xie, I'm sorry." Luo Xin smiled apologetically and left as well. What a snob. Xian Yanqing curled his lips. Lu Ming smiled faintly and rubbed his nose. It was not that they did not want to interfere, but he had already seen that the flying arrowfish did not pose a threat to the merchant group. It did not matter whether they interfered or not. That was why they did not interfere. If the merchant group was in danger, they would not sit back and do nothing. The small incident was over just like that. The merchant group continued on their journey. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. On the evening of the 10th day, a small island appeared in front of them. The Zhomi Island is up ahead. Let's go down and rest for the night. We'll continue tomorrow. Luo Xin's voice was heard. The four-winged flying tiger had been flying for 10 days. No matter how strong its stamina was, it was tired and needed rest. It could not travel continuously. The four-winged flying tiger roared and flew toward the island below. The island was not big. It had a radius of about 1,000 miles. It was originally a place for merchant groups to rest midway. They landed on a huge square on the island. Shopkeeper Yang, the Flame Trade Union is here. Prepare some good food for us. A burly man flew down from the Flame Trade Union and shouted. Huge stone houses were built on the side of the square. In the past, the merchant groups that passed by would rest there and have some food. Chapter 646. What's going on today? In the past, shopkeeper Yang would come out to greet us before we landed. Why isn't there anyone today? Chen Zhao frowned. Luo Xin also frowned. Suddenly, her expression changed and she said, "Oh no, something's wrong. Let's leave quickly. Let's go, let's go." It was clear that some of the more experienced people had also thought of something and shouted out one after another. "Ha ha ha, it's too late to leave now. Stay here." A cold laugh was heard. Then, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard. Figures appeared in all directions of the square. There were at least 1,000 of them, standing in the air and surrounding the flame merchant team. "Pirates, they're pirates!" someone exclaimed. The faces of Luo Xin and the others darkened. Traveling in the chaotic astral ocean was not a big deal, but pirates were the scariest. The chaotic astral sea was originally a gathering place for some evil people. Those evil people who couldn't survive in the eastern wasteland would go to the chaotic astral sea and no one could find them. The pirates in the chaotic astral ocean were even more vicious. They specialized in killing passing caravans and robbing cultivation resources. Their methods were extremely ruthless and did not leave anyone alive. Some pirates even practiced evil cultivation methods that required killing, blood, and even the souls of martial artists to cultivate. "Everyone, we're from the Flame Merchant team. I hope you can give us some face. I know the rules. I'll give you 1 million top-grade spiritual crystals and let us leave. How about that?" Luo Xin flew out and wanted to negotiate with them. The Flame Merchant team was a huge merchant team in the chaotic astral ocean. They were powerful and famous. Some pirates would give them some face when they heard about the Flame Merchant team. Unfortunately, Luo Xin was wrong. A burly man with a scar on his face flew out. He looked at Luo Xin's curvy body with a burning gaze and sneered, 1 million top-grade spiritual crystals and you want to send us away? Do you think we're beggars? How about this? Leave half of your goods behind. Also, serve me for a night. If I'm satisfied, I'll consider letting you go. Then, the burly man with a scar licked his lips. His eyes were full of lust. Luo Xin's face turned pale. "You're dreaming. Don't think you can defeat us. You have less than 1,000 people. We have more people than you. If we really fight, it's hard to say who will win." Chen Zhao shouted, his anger soaring to the heavens. "Haha, so what if you have more people? In my eyes, we're all lambs. Kid, let me tell you. We've never won't win with numbers." The burly man with a scar on his face. "What? You're the blood pirates?" The faces of Luo Xin, Chen Zhao, and the people at the scene changed drastically. Fear was written all over their faces. "Hehe, it seems like you've heard of the Blood Evil Pirate Group. You should also know that our methods have always been to eliminate the source of trouble and leave no one alive. Today, I'm in a good mood, so I'll be lenient. It's still the same as before. As long as you serve me well and leave half of the goods, I'll let you go." Chen Zhao's expression kept changing, and he didn't continue speaking. "Don't even think about it. Miss, I'll use all my strength to escort you out. The blood pirates can't be trusted. Even if we agree to their conditions, they'll go back on their words." An elder walked out from behind Luo Xin. His body emitted a powerful aura. This elder was a peak-tier king. Old man, you want to escort her out by yourself? Stop dreaming. The burly man with a scar smiled coldly. A peak-tier king also emitted a powerful aura. Peak-tier king. This burly man was also a peak-tier king. Not only that, but another powerful aura appeared behind the burly man. It was also a peak-tier king. The blood pirates had sent out 2 peak-tier kings. Everyone's heart sank. The flaming merchant group only had 1 peak-tier king, and he usually wouldn't attack just in case. Normal pirate groups rarely had peak-tier kings, but the blood pirates were an extremely powerful pirate group in the chaotic astral ocean. It was normal for them to have peak-tier kings. No one had expected 2 to come. I gave you a chance, but you didn't want it. Now, you have no chance. The burly man with a scar's eyes flashed with a fiendish and bloodthirsty light as his aura became stronger and stronger. Kill. Cripple the young girl's cultivation and leave her behind. Kill everyone else. The burly man with a scar roared. Kill. Kill. The blood pirates all roared as their fiendish auras spread out. From their auras, every member of the blood pirates was covered in blood and had fought for a long time. Such people had rich battle experience. Ordinary cultivators would feel uneasy and their battle power would decrease if they were suppressed by their fiendish aura. Shua. Shua. Roars rang out one after another as they charged towards the Flame Trade Union. Chen Jiao, take the young lady and charge out. This old man will block them. The peak-tier king of the Flame Merchant Group roared as he charged at the burly man with a scar. Old man, die. The burly man with a scar's eyes were cold as he slashed out with a blood-colored saber. A river of blood surged toward the elder from the Flame Merchant Group. Star-breaking sword. The elder from the Flame Merchant Group stabbed out with his sword. Specks of starlight shot toward the burly man. Boom. With a loud explosion, his body trembled as he rapidly retreated. With one move, he was at a disadvantage. Luo Xin and the others felt despair in their hearts. You want to stop me with this little bit of battle power? You're courting death. The burly man with a scar laughed coldly. Go, you guys go. The elder roared at Luo Xin and the others. Hee, go? Where do you think you're going? A cold laugh sounded as a skinny figure appeared in front of Luo Xin. His aura was unfathomable. This person was the other peak-tier king of the blood pirates. Luo Xin, Chen Jiao, and the others' faces were as white as paper and their hearts were dead. Ah! At this moment, screams came from all directions. The blood pirates had the upper hand in the first exchange, and people from the Flame Merchant Group were constantly being killed. Old 5, this girl isn't bad. After you play with her, you have to let me play with her. The skinny man looked at Luo Xin as a fiery light flashed in his eyes. Okay, old 6, since you like her, of course you can. The burly man with a scar laughed coldly. Luo Xin's body started to tremble. Damn it, damn it. If my big brother was here, he would definitely be able to kill them easily. Chen Jiao roared. Die. Following this, the burly man with a scar slashed at the elder. Boom. The elder's body retreated once more as blood spilled from his mouth. Even peak-tier kings had a huge difference in battle power. It was obvious that the burly man with a scar was stronger than the elder. Old man, 3 more slashes and I'll kill you. The burly man with a scar laughed coldly. You won't have the chance. Right at this moment, a clear voice sounded. Chapter 647. The scar-faced man was shocked. He didn't even see how the 2 of them appeared. The 2 of them were naturally Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. When the scar-faced man saw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's age, he heaved a sigh of relief. How much of a threat could 2 young men in their 20s be? It seemed like he was too careless and didn't notice them. It's them. Luo Xin, Chen Jiao, and the others also saw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. What are the 2 of them doing here? Are they courting death? Chen Jiao couldn't help but ask. Young Master Lu, the Flame Trade Union can't even protect themselves in this situation. They can't protect you guys. You guys should run for your lives. If you're lucky, you might be able to escape. Quick. Luo Xin's character wasn't bad. She was still thinking about others at this moment. Leave, none of you can leave. Haha, there's actually such a beauty in this world. What luck. At this moment, the scar-faced man's eyes were fixed on Xian Yanqing. His body was emitting blazing flames. Old 5, the one from before is yours. This chick is mine. The skinny man's eyes were also fixed on Xian Yanqing. His eyes were almost popping out of their sockets. She was too beautiful. Simply too beautiful. Luo Xin was considered a decent beauty, but compared to Xian Yanqing, she was far inferior. They couldn't help but sigh and rejoice. Today's luck was too good. Luo Xin sighed inwardly. It's over. Xian Yanqing is so beautiful. Now that 2 peak-tier kings of the Blood Evil pirate group have their eyes on him, how can he escape? Xian Yanqing frowned. The killing intent in his eyes was incomparably cold. All of you must die. A cold voice came out from Xian Yanqing's mouth, causing the others to be stunned. Xian Yanqing actually wanted to kill 2 peak-tier kings. What wishful thinking. Little Qing, leave these 2 to me. I'm looking for someone to practice my fist. You go and help the others, Lu Ming said to Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing coldly glanced at the scar-faced man and the skinny bamboo pole, and said, Fine, I will leave them to you, but don't kill them easily, I will kill them. All right. Lu Ming nodded. The others were stunned. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, what were they doing? Could it be that in their hearts, the scarred man and the skinny bamboo pole were trash that could be killed at will? After all, these were 2 peak kings. Truly, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Senior, go and help the others. Leave these 2 to me. Lu Ming strode forward and said to the pinnacle king of the Flame Chamber of Commerce. The old man was also stunned. Brat, it's your mistake to pretend to be a hero. Die. The scar-faced burly man shouted coldly and slashed his saber at Lu Ming. The blood-red saber gleam cut through the air with a whistling sound and slashed at Lu Ming's head. Its power was stronger than before. Be careful. Luo Xin exclaimed subconsciously. I'll use you guys to practice my fist. Lu Ming's lips curled into a sneer as he threw a punch. Exploding star fist. Space shook as a fiery red fist light shot out like a meteor towards the scar-faced man's blade light. Wherever the fist aura passed, due to its ferocity, it turned the air into liquid. The liquid wrapped around the fist aura and collided with the saber aura. Boom! With a loud explosion, the scar-faced man's blade light was directly shattered and disappeared without a trace. Not only that, the remaining fist light forced the scar-faced man back. Luo Xin, Chen Zhao, and the others' eyes almost popped out. Their mouths were wide open as they stared blankly. Lu Ming actually destroyed the arrogant scar-faced man's blade light with a single punch and forced him back. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so terrifying? This was a true pinnacle expert. As for the burly man with the scar, his expression changed drastically. He did not expect Lu Ming to have such powerful combat abilities. Come here. At this moment, Lu Ming punched out. A bright fist light pierced through the void and blasted towards the skinny man. The skinny man still wanted to stop Xian Yanqing, but Lu Ming quickly pulled him over. It was not easy to find a few opponents to practice with. It would be a pity if the skinny man was killed by Xian Yanqing in one move. The explosive fist light created a huge pressure on the skinny man. He could only block it with all his strength. Boom! The fist light exploded and the skinny man was blasted 1,000 meters away. Let's work together and kill this little bastard, the scar-faced man roared. All right. Swish. Swish. The skinny man and the scar-faced man worked together and attacked Lu Ming with all their strength. Good. Lu Ming threw out 2 consecutive punches. Fist gleams burst out, cutting across 1,000 meters of the void and blasting toward the duo. With 2 explosions, the 2 were sent flying again. Swish. Swish. Immediately after, 2 more fist lights pierced through the void and blasted towards the 2. The fist lights seemed to be endless. The scar-faced man and the skinny man were completely suppressed and fell into a disadvantageous position. This was the result of Lu Ming suppressing his true yuan and the exploding star fist not being fully developed. Otherwise, they would have been blasted to death by Lu Ming. Sky Demon Force Field. On the other side, Xian Yanqing's delicate voice sounded. With a press of her jade-like hand, the terrifying Sky Demon Force Field covered 1,000 meters. All the blood evil pirates within, whether they were late-stage kings or ordinary kings, were sliced into pieces and died. Luo Xin and the others were dumbfounded. Geniuses. I didn't think that we would have 2 peerless geniuses in our team this time. How lucky. The old man at the peak of the King Realm sighed, and his face was covered in happiness. Yeah, I really didn't expect this. Luo Xin also sighed. On the other hand, Chen Zhao felt his face burning. He thought back to 2 days ago. At that time, he had pointed out that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were cowards and didn't dare to attack because of their low cultivation. Now that he thought about it, every word he said was like a pair of slaps to his face. Lu Ming was right. They didn't attack because there was no need for them to attack in that situation. They would naturally attack when needed. However, he still ridiculed Lu Ming. Damn it, they made me lose face. Aren't they just peak kings? My big brother is much stronger than them. Chen Zhao didn't feel good. He thought that Lu Ming had made him lose face. Let's attack together and kill these blood evil pirate, said the old man. His figure flashed, and he charged at the blood evil pirates. With the 2 peak kings, the old man and Xian Yanqing, attacking, the blood evil pirates were naturally one-sided, and large numbers of them were killed. This was especially true for Xian Yanqing. The moment she released her Sky Demon Force Field, a large number of pirates were enveloped, and they had nowhere to run. The more the blood evil pirates fought, the more shocked they became. That fiendish aura from before had already faded, and only fear remained. Retreat, retreat. The other side has too many peak kings. Some blood evil pirates roared. They had already lost their fighting spirit. The moment their fighting spirit disappeared, their battle power weakened, and more people were killed. Chapter 648. Kill. Many members of the Flame Merchant Association roared, their eyes red from the killing. They had thought that they were going to die today, but the situation suddenly reversed and their morale soared. In just a few minutes, several hundred of the blood evil pirates had been killed. Finally, the blood evil pirates collapsed and retreated. Xian Yanqing and the others chased crazily, leaving a large number of corpses along the way. Of the 1,000 blood evil pirates, at least 800 were killed. Only 100 or 200 managed to escape. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming's fist energy was like a rainbow as it tore through the air like a meteor, bombarding the scar-faced man and the skinny man endlessly. The scar-faced man and the skinny man were already trembling as blood flowed out of their noses and mouths. Their internal organs had already been injured by Lu Ming's fist energy. Awesome, awesome. Lu Ming felt that the exploding star fist was becoming smoother and smoother. It was much more comfortable than when he had comprehended it by himself. Lu Ming felt that the exploding star fist was approaching the 3rd level. Cultivating a martial technique required great battles. The knife-scarred man and the skinny bamboo pole watched as their subordinates were killed or fled. Others like Xian Yanqing and the old man from the Flame Chamber of Commerce rushed back. Their hearts sank. They knew that today, they were most likely going to die. Damn it. Even if I die today, I won't let you off easily. Let's die together. The scar-faced man roared with murderous intent. They were used to life and death in the chaotic astral ocean, and they often walked on the edge of life and death. At this moment, their ferocious nature was aroused. Let's die together. The skinny man's aura also became berserk. Not good. They're going to self-detonate. The old man from the Flame Merchant Association exclaimed. Retreat! Retreat! Chen Zhao and the others who were watching the battle started to scream in fear. The self-detonation of a peak-tier king was extremely terrifying. Everything within 100 miles would be affected. Did I allow them to self-detonate? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold, and his true essence crazily erupted. Lu Ming's current Zhen Yuan was extremely strong, and once it erupted, the 2 fist energies immediately became incomparably terrifying, and instantly shattered the void, exploding on the body of the scarred man and the skinny bamboo pole. Before the two of them could self-destruct, they were torn apart by the terrifying power. They didn't even have the chance to scream. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure moved. In a flash, he swallowed their blood essence and put away their storage rings. Of course, Lu Ming's devouring of blood essence was done very discreetly. The devouring power acted on his palm and absorbed the blood essence. Then, Lu Ming's figure flickered, flitting past the corpses and devouring their blood essence. There were almost 800 people here, with 200 to 300 martial emperor realm cultivators. The blood essence was too rich. How could he miss it? Luo Xin, Chen Zhao, and the others were dumbfounded. 2 peak kings were killed by Lu Ming just like that. After a while, there was an earth-shattering cheer. Most of the people were cheering, especially those from the Flame Chamber of Commerce. They often came to the chaotic astral sea and naturally knew the reputation of the blood pirates. They originally thought that this time, they were doomed, but they didn't expect Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing to be so unbelievably strong. They were actually 2 peak kings who easily crushed their opponents. Naturally, they were cheering, happy, and excited to escape death. I heard that during this period, many young geniuses have entered the chaotic astral sea to gain experience. There are even top geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. Are these 2 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents? I don't know. I don't know their names. In my opinion, even if they're not on the list of top 1,000 talents, they're close to it. There was a burst of discussion all around. Master Lu, Miss Xie, thank you so much for saving us this time. Luo Xin can't thank you enough. Luo Xin walked up to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and bowed. Miss Luo Xin, there's no need to be so polite. Like I said, if you need my help, I'll definitely help. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Humph, if we don't help, I'm afraid someone will drive us away. Xian Yanqing snorted coldly and glanced at Chen Zhao, who was standing not far away. Of course, this sentence also reached Chen Zhao's ears. Humph, what's there to be proud of? Aren't they just peak kings? It took so long to kill 2 pirates, and their names aren't on the list of top 1,000 talents. What's there to be proud of? If my brother wasn't over 30 years old, he would have been on the list of top 1,000 talent. Chen Zhao secretly gritted his teeth and clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. All right, let's rest. Lu Ming strode toward a stone house. The others also began to clean up the battlefield. There was no one in the stone house. Obviously, the people on this island had long been killed by the blood pirates. Lu Ming randomly found a stone house and began to refine the essence blood. The essence blood of 2 peak kings, more than a dozen kings in the profound realm, and hundreds of martial artists of various levels was extremely rich. Lu Ming used all of it to improve the 9 dragons bloodline. Unfortunately, the 9 dragons bloodline did not advance to the 9th level of the king level. The amount of essence blood needed to advance to the 9th level of the king level was far from enough. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, the 4-winged flying tiger had rested enough, so the group set off again toward Jinsha Island. Along the way, they encountered some trouble and even encountered a small pirate group. However, this pirate group didn't even have a peak king and was easily defeated. 5 days later, they finally arrived at Jinsha Island. Jinsha Island was one of the larger and more famous islands in the chaotic astral ocean. It had a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles, like a continent. There was a lot of golden sand on it, so it was named Jinsha Island. Jinsha Island could be considered a large gathering place in the chaotic astral ocean. There were many factions coming and going, and at least several tens of millions of martial artists had gathered here. It could be said that experts were as common as clouds. Even Sea of Soul Realm experts were not in the minority. It was just that Sea of Soul Realm experts usually did not show themselves. The 4-winged flying tiger of flame commerce landed on a vast golden beach. Young Master Lu, Miss Xie, this should be your first time coming to Jinsha Island, right? Our flame commerce has a large gathering place here. Why don't you come and have a seat? I'll be the host and take you on a tour. Luo Xin walked over to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and said with a smile. Many thanks, Miss Luo Xin. However, The two of us have other matters to attend to. Let's talk next time. Lu Ming declined. Oh, since that's the case, then next time. However, young Master Lu, Miss Xie, the chaotic astral ocean is not like the outside world. Here, there are no laws and no heavens. Killing can happen at any time. You too must be careful. Luo warned with good intentions. Many thanks, Miss Luo. Farewell. Chapter 649. Luo sighed as she watched Lu Ming and Chen Xiaobei leave. What a pity. It would be great if our Flame Chamber of Commerce could employ such geniuses. Miss, that's basically impossible. They've reached the Peak King realm at such a young age. They're definitely the successors of some major force. In a few years, they might even make it onto the list of top 1,000 talents. Their futures are limitless. How could our Flame Chamber of Commerce hire such people? The Peak King from the Flame Chamber of Commerce walked to the side and said softly, Elder Wu, you overestimate them. In my opinion, their battle strength is only average. My brother can definitely defeat them easily. They're just lucky to be born in a major force and rely on huge amounts of resources to raise their cultivation. There are many people like them in those major forces, and they definitely won't make it onto the list of top 1,000 talents. Chen Zhao walked up and sneered. He was still very unhappy with Lu Ming. Luo sighed. Chen Zhao was too narrow-minded. He would never amount to anything. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing flew into the air and headed toward the interior of Jinsha Island. Soon, a huge city appeared in front of them. The two of them flew toward the city. There was no one guarding the city. People came and went, and it was very lively. As Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing approached the city gate, they immediately attracted many gazes. Most of these gazes were from burly men. These men were burly and strong, and their killing intent was undisguised. They stared at Xian Yanqing with burning eyes. Not only were there middle-aged men, but there were also a few white-haired old men. Their eyes were also burning as they looked at Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing frowned. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Xian Yanqing's charm was too great. He attracted attention wherever he went. Lu Ming could not stop others from looking. However, if someone wanted to go further, Lu Ming's fist would have been itching for a fight. The two of them ignored the gazes and walked into the city. Inside the city, there were many shops, and it was even more lively. There were many stalls set up on both sides of the street, and many strange things were being sold. I didn't expect there to be so many warriors on Jinsha Island. Lu Ming thought to himself. Furthermore, Lu Ming discovered that the quality of the cultivators on Jinsha Island was very high. There were almost no weaklings. Lu Ming swept his gaze over them and saw that most of them were martial kings. Of course, there were also those below the martial king level. However, they were all high-level martial arts grandmasters. The weaker ones did not dare to wander around. It was no wonder that the entire Eastern Wasteland had many ferocious warriors or warriors who had practiced evil martial arts. Many of them would come to the chaotic astral sea, which led to the fact that the chaotic astral sea had many high-class warriors. The number of high-class warriors in the chaotic astral sea was much higher than in most of the big areas. Martial kings were everywhere. Brat, what the fuck do you mean? I saw this deep-sea frosty iron first. What are you trying to do by interfering halfway? Do you want to die? I think you're the one who wants to die. So what if you like her? I want this deep-sea frosty iron. In front of a stall, two burly men in their 40s were arguing. You're courting death. With a loud roar, one of the burly men pulled out his saber and slashed at the other man. You're the one who's going to die. A long spear appeared in the other man's hand. The long spear turned into a bolt of lightning and pierced the throat of the man in front of him. The man let out a loud roar and collapsed to the ground. Humph, you're really courting death. How dare you try to snatch the deep-sea frosty iron from this old man? The burly man with the long spear put away his long spear and took the storage ring of the other man. Then, he looked at the stall owner again. The deep-sea frosty iron is mine, the burly man said. Okay. The stall owner smiled and handed a piece of metal to the burly man. He did not find it strange that one of the men had died. The people around them did the same. They just glanced at it casually and then went on with their own business, as if it was a common thing. Not long after, several black-clothed men appeared and took the corpse away. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked at each other and continued to walk forward. "Old bastard, you dare to touch my woman? Die!" They had not taken a few steps when another loud roar came from the front. A man in his 30s chopped an old man in half with an axe. The people around them just glanced at each other and then went on with their own business. The chaotic astral ocean was indeed the chaotic astral ocean. It was chaotic enough. Killing people was a common occurrence. One wrong word and blood would splatter. "Let's find a restaurant and have something to eat," Lu Ming said to Xian Yanqing. The two of them were used to the wind and waves. They had experienced countless life and death battles. Naturally, they got used to it quickly. Xian Yanqing nodded and the two of them walked toward a restaurant. Boom! Just as they arrived at the entrance of the restaurant, the whole restaurant exploded with a boom. Broken wood and stones flew everywhere. Some of the people with lower cultivation were directly injured by the broken stones. Lu Ming waved his hands and his vital essence burst forth. The front part of the gravel and wood fragments that were shooting toward them collapsed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Dozens of figures flew out from the 9th floor. "Hey, you're cursing. Even a cup of wine can't be at peace. Which bastard is fighting in the restaurant?" The sound of cursing could be heard. Boom! Two figures rushed into the sky from the smoke and dust and started fighting. Powerful auras filled the air. One of them was a burly man and the other was an old man. Both of them were 9th-layer Martial King realm cultivators. Many people shut their mouths. Boom! Boom! The two of them exchanged dozens of blows in the air. In the end, the burly man was stronger and killed the old man with a slash. "You dare to go against me? You're courting death," the burly man cursed. He took the storage ring and was about to leave. "Wait a minute." A short and fat man dressed like a shopkeeper flew into the sky and said with a smile, "You two have destroyed my restaurant. You haven't paid for it and you want to leave? That's too immoral. Fatty, you want me to pay for it? Hehe, I think you're tired of living." The burly man glanced at the short and fat shopkeeper and revealed a hideous smile. "I'm running a small business. Of course I have to pay for it," the short and fat shopkeeper said with a smile. "Pay for it? Fine, I'll pay with your head." The burly man revealed a hideous smile and slashed his sword at the shopkeeper's throat. The short and fat shopkeeper was still smiling. When the burly man's sword was about to reach him, he struck out with his palm. A huge palm condensed and crushed the burly man's sword light, grabbing him in its hand. A peak Martial King. "Ah, I'll pay, I'll pay," the burly man yelled in fear. However, with a squeeze of the hand, the burly man's body exploded. A storage ring flew into the short and fat shopkeeper's hand. "Wouldn't it be fine if you paid for it earlier? You're courting death." "Sigh, I have to rebuild the restaurant again. What a loss, what a loss," the short and fat shopkeeper sighed. "It seems like we'll have to eat at another restaurant." Lu Ming was speechless. "This place is quite interesting. What do you think?" You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.